I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the News du Jour, a calmer space to consume the news. So here at the top, before we launch into today's episode, I do have a couple reminders for you guys. First off, we will be taking 2 days off for Thanksgiving this year. So if you listen every day, you will have normal episodes through Wednesday, but Thursday and Friday, we will be off for the holiday. Thank you guys so much for your patience. Our second announcement is that our merch will be having a Black Friday sale, so look out for that discount code on our social media. The sale will run from Friday through Cyber Monday, so definitely grab what you've been eyeing. And today's episode, we're going to go over two major bombshells that were dropped over the weekend. Elizabeth Holmes getting sentenced to 11 years in prison, and Elon Musk announcing that he was letting former President Trump back onto Twitter. So we have a ton to go over for both of those bombshell stories. But before we dive into all of that, I want to go over something even more important, the shooting at a gay nightclub in Colorado. Let's dive in. So for this first story, I do have to issue a content warning. This story involves a hate-motivated mass shooting. So just before midnight on Saturday night, a 22-year-old man opened fired with an AR-15 style long rifle in a LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado Springs. He managed to injure 25 people and kill 5 of those people in the short amount of time he spent shooting. He was actually stopped and calmed down by patrons at the nightclub. Brave, brave heroes, honestly. A few men mentioned by President Biden actually physically tried to block the bullets from hitting other people. It's horrifying that this type of event is still happening in this day and age. And especially that people hold this much hatred. This crime also comes at a time when Congress is literally looking to codify gay marriage, making it permanently legal in the United States. Republicans and Democrats have joined together on this important legislation. And we all know, law or not, legal or not, LGBTQ plus people have been having beautiful, long-lasting, meaningful unions for centuries world over. And they will continue to, no matter what hatred is brought against them. They deserve the title of spouse in a crisis, moments of joy, weddings, joint bank accounts, all of the things. But most of all, they deserve safety, as we all do. Our hearts go out to the LGBTQ community as a whole today and everyone impacted by this tragic event. So next up for today, I do want to go over Elizabeth Holmes's sentencing. We needed to go over the shooting first because it was so important that we were all aware of that event. But Elizabeth Holmes was convicted of several counts of fraud, if you guys remember, having to do with her failed blood testing startup, Theranos. She had previously attempted to appeal these verdicts, but it was denied. She had her sentencing hearing on Friday and was formally sentenced to 11 years in prison. She will also be required to have 3 years of supervised release afterward. She is 38 years old now, so she will be 49 years old getting out of prison if she serves her full sentence. She reportedly cried in the courtroom while reading a statement to the judge. It was really the first time that she admitted to any wrongdoing on her end or had any remorse for that matter. She's also reportedly now expecting a second child, so she will likely be giving birth while incarcerated. The maximum for her particular crimes was 20 years. The prosecutors asked for 15 years plus $804 million in restitution to her investors. Her lawyers asked for 18 months of house arrest. So this obviously leaned toward the prosecution in terms of her sentencing, which is a growing trend. The facade of kind of fake it till you make it among startups is really dimming. The court system is coming down harder and harder on white collar crimes, which does not bode well for former President Trump or cryptocurrency titans who are now being investigated for fraud. The hammer is coming down harder. And with that, we have a number of kind of mini stories having to do with Elon Musk and Twitter. So first off, Elon Musk announced on Saturday that he would be reinstating former President Trump's Twitter account based on a poll that he conducted on the platform, which fell in Trump's favor. The former president's account quickly showed back up. It's back on Twitter for all to see. He hasn't said anything yet, so it will be interesting to see what his first tweet back is. As of the time I'm recording this, of course. Now, Kanye West's account showed up as well, and he tweeted something to the effect of testing, or something like that, and that was my cue to get off of Twitter. There's no doubt that these two characters will only add to the mayhem that is now descended upon this platform since Musk's takeover began. It's kind of difficult to say, who's saying what at this point because anyone can have a check mark next to their name. So things are getting confusing, scary, and, now famous accounts from Gigi Hadid to Balenciaga and even yours truly have left the platform. And over at Twitter's headquarters, the madness has not slowed down either, and the theme of people leaving is continuing as well. Over 1,200 employees quit after being given the ultimatum of working, quote, extremely hardcore, end quote, or leaving the company. And almost half of the employees said, no, that's not for me, actually. Work-life balance is extremely important. And while Elon Musk may not get that, it seems that 1,200 of his former employees do. And then we have to discuss the projector. So, meanwhile, a former Twitter employee took to the building itself to mess with Musk. And after all, it's so easy. He's very easily offended. People who mock him on Twitter get banned. Employees who challenge his thinking have been fired. So he seems a little sensitive, especially for a public figure. And someone might feel like this is a fun time to mess with him. They took a projector and flashed lettering onto the walls of the Twitter headquarters reading, quote, kisses Putin's ass, and number 1 in hate speech, and Musk's hellscape, and launching to bankruptcy, and Space Karen, and lawless oligarch, and worthless billionaire. Things along those lines. They also quoted a former Twitter employee who had implored his peers to stand up to Musk. He said in that quote, "If your personal situation allows for it, it is your moral duty to disobey, to strike, to protest." End quote. It's pretty hard to imagine right now a bright future for Twitter under the current circumstances, but we're just going to have to see how all this plays out for Musk and what he has up his sleeve. Stay tuned. And then lastly for today, we had to touch on Ellen Pompeo leaving Grey's Anatomy. So who ever thought we would see an episode of Grey's without Grey? It once seemed impossible. That's why I always knew she would live through whatever life-threatening event that they were dealing with on the show. It kind of gave me peace of mind. You couldn't have Grey's without Grey. But now, in these uncertain times, things are getting even less certain, you guys. Meredith Grey will be imparting on a new adventure in Boston while Ellen Pompeo films another project. She shared this about it on Instagram. "I am eternally grateful and humbled by the love and support you all have shown me, Meredith Grey, and the show for 19 seasons. Through it all, none of it would have been possible without the best fans in the world. You all are riders, and you have made it through the ride so fun, so iconic. I love you madly and appreciate you right back. This isn't your first time being on a roller coaster. You know the show must go on, and I'll definitely be back to visit. With a lot of love and immense gratitude, XOE." End quote. Truly the end of an era. And then one last little thing before we leave. This is just like a one-liner, but Ticketmaster should have known better than to mess with Taylor Swift. The company is now under investigation, you guys, by the Justice Department. Yikes. They should have thought twice. And that is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with the quote, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life." If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you use to listen. A rate and review or shout out on social media would mean the world to us and help us be able to keep creating the news du jour. But the best way to support all of our work is to become a patron at www.patreon.com/sugarfreemedia. You can also follow us on social media under sugarfreemedia.co on Instagram and just sugarfreemedia, all one word, on TikTok. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour.
Broadcasting from Oklahoma.